Okay. All right. So you're all incredibly welcome. Tonight is day 3. Has it gone quick for you, or has it felt like arduous? Has it felt heavy or okay? Sarah, all right? See you nodding. All right. Okay. Good. Good. I'm just keeping an eye on the chat here. Okay. So night 3. Night 3 really is about what is it about our model that's curative? What is it what's the specific part of this model that's curative? Oh, can you just check your check your mute? I have muted everybody there. Okay, so we are going to look at what is it is curative, and then what is it that we've already done that, when all woven together, makes this a unique way to treat anxiety. Is everybody okay with that? So that's the intentionality. We're still going to use our gorgeous case study, and we're going to weave our case study through what I'm going to talk to you tonight about, so that we're keeping that learning through a real alive and client. Happy enough? And then I would love to share the details of how to train in this methodology with you. So if all of that is good, and I'm still letting people in, if all of that is good, we will start with a recap. So the 4 principles, again, just a recap. The capacity for symptomatology, the capacity for interoception, the capacity for root cause, and then the assessment of stages of process. And how these 4 principles are interrelated, and how without them and without the assessment of them, you will get locked into storytelling. And how that not only does the assessment help you understand what the client needs in terms of intervention, but it stacks the priority for your interventions fundamentally. And I've seen so many of you took up the assessment challenge to go on and do. I've seen so many people on there today, which was just brilliant to see. So when we think about when we think about when I'm teaching therapists anxiety, I'm always asking you to look at the client through the lens of the 4 principles. And I'm always asking you to assess through the lens of the 4 principles. And I'm going to show you that actual assessment form later. Then what I ask you to do, which is normally 90% of the cases, is move swiftly to the first, if you like, protocol, which is maps and patterns, because that does a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to actually helping clients with interoception, helping clients with stages of process. So what you have there in that is that you have, if you like, one protocol that does many things, so that you're not trying to piecemeal. You know what I mean by piecemeal? You're not trying to grab other strategies. And then that you have this indirect, which you all know how to do, and you don't need to teach you how to work with the autonomic nervous system, and then this direct way of working with it, which I showed you last night. That's very simple, right? 4 principles, maps and patterns as an intervention. Then you move on, and you're working with indirect and direct regulation. And there's a lot of work done on that already. It's very simple, very structured, but that creates a depth of process that allows the client to have capacity for root cause, capacity for interoception, moves them along the stages of process, and cures their capacity for symptomatology. So where does that leave us? That leaves us at root cause. It leaves us at this idea of root cause. So what we want to do is we want to take our case study, and we want to look at our case study, and we want to thread the idea of root cause into this case study. So firstly, root cause I have alluded to in our previous work as this idea of key and core threats. So this is really an important principle. If we are talking about a curative system, and a system that speaks to the heart of the matter for your client, and a system that you need to guardrail you so that you're not moving around the show, fighting fires the entire time. You need to understand what it is, what a key and core threat is. And then we'll weave it through the client. So key and core threats are fundamentally the originating experiences that have caused threats in the system. They're usually locked in limbically. What does that mean? It's a lot of limbic energy that is not available to the conscious memory. Sometimes there's not even autobiographical memory because of the nature of the threats. There are these key experiences that have happened that have been so difficult and detrimental to the person that they have thwarted or changed the way they see themselves or the way they see the world around them. And the system, the nervous system, does not want to ever re-experience anything like it again. That's why it becomes a key threat. Now, in addition to that, we get core threats. Not everybody has core threats, but everybody will have a key threat. So what's a core threat? It's when that experience is existential to the system in its nature. Does everybody understand? Yeah, no, Sarah. Everybody get the difference between the two. So one is, I'll give you loads of examples. One key experience might be humiliation. In school, you were pulled up to the classroom, told to recite your times tables, you couldn't remember it, you went on to freeze, maybe you had a maybe you had a bowel movement, or you went into shock, or something happened that was not only humiliation for not being able to recite the times tables, but humiliated because something physically happened to you in that moment. Right? Now, horrific. I mean, your whole system will be warning you for the rest of your life never to have that happen again, right? Whether you remember it or not. But in and of itself, that was a key experience that was horrific in nature. If that key experience meant that you were no longer going to be loved, cared for, wanted, or you might have been abandoned because of the result of it, that would be existential to the system. Now you're not going to survive life. Anybody knows about this? Anybody thinks about this? And now it's existential to the self. And so not all people have this core element, this existential element there. Everybody has the key element of it, but not everybody has the both. And when we see people with complex trauma, developmental trauma, we are looking at key and core threats combined in the one system, and possibly multiple key and core threats. Now that is what changes the directionality of this model. This model looks for those key and core threats. They look for what the system is warning about every day. Now here is the difficulty. In the now, does the key and core threats warn through the mind in a logical fashion? Hell no. Hell no. If you were that child who was humiliated, do you think that during the day your mind says, do you remember that time you were humiliated when you were 5? Let's protect ourselves from humiliation. That's not how this works. The system, the mind splits off into any variation of humiliation, tags every experience that has within it the weight of anything like it, and the system is warned by it. That's why many people call them false alarms. But they're messaging something that is more existential and key to the client. And that's why so many clients feel let down by the current way that anxiety is treated. Because it's really not getting to the root of the issue, the nub of the issue. And many people leave therapeutic process having danced around something, but really never been able to get to the root of it. And what that does is it just creates more anxiety for the client, more mistrust in themselves, more lack of agency. And what it does for us is it means that we're spinning our tails constantly trying to look. So if I've done a good enough job at explaining key and core threats loosely, can we look at the case study and weave it through? Everybody happy enough for that? Okay. So our 35-year-old woman who's a successful CEO, who's presenting with anxiety and panic, who's afraid of public speaking, afraid of board meetings, afraid of criticism, afraid of wrongness, feeling like a fraud, feeling like an imposter, feeling like they're burnt out and they want to leave, and had a difficult childhood but does not want to look at it, has done all her maps and patterns work, feels better about the anxiety, feels better about the symptomatology, has more tolerance for it, is less activated by the people, places, and things, has a better stage of process, and is now ready to look at something deeper. Everybody with me? Okay. I alluded to last night that she was a parentified child. Yeah, she's a parentified child who needed to keep the world up. What does that mean? It means that she, in her key experiences, experienced alcoholic parents who lost control. So that she would have experienced arguments, she would have experienced fighting, she would have experienced drama at the hands of alcoholism. Now, the question isn't what happened outside her. The question is what happened within her. Everybody with me? We're not interested in what happened to her. That will not heal her. We are interested in the experience that happened within her. Because that is what her nervous system is warning her about every single day. So what did happen within her? In all of these circumstances and all of these consistent, persistent, we understand as complex trauma, where things were out of control and she was parentified to be in control, what happened within her? What happened within her was a scramble for control. What happened within her, yeah, the nervous system is absolutely protecting her, Bruce, warning her every day she's close to that. Even though that is long past, it's still in her system, still in her limbic system and her nervous system. I wish more people knew that. I wish more practitioners could have those conversations online. You don't have a faulty nervous system, you have a protective nervous system. It's watching. You're close to a key experience that you had somewhere down the line, and it's telling you you're close to it, and it's trying to get you away from it. Absolutely. See, I could go down a whole road here, Bruce. I get that passionate about it. So what happened within her as a key experience is a scramble for control, a feeling not good enough. Everybody following me? A feeling like she's wrong, a feeling like she's totally, there's something fundamentally missing in her. See the way she internalized the experience of lack of control? Severe hyperarousal that led to hypoarousal. And in that hypoarousal, there's always conscious awareness in hypoarousal. So inside hypoarousal, feeling alone, burdened, death-like feeling. You hear people talk about hypoarousal as nothingness, nobodiness, nowhereness, aloneness, floating around in a nothingness. So when she's called for public speaking, she runs the risk of getting it wrong. Where does wrongness take her? Right into the heart of a key and core threat, because this experience in her was existential to her, to the sense of the human condition. I am floating around in nothingness. I am a nobody. I have the loss of self in that is existential, and will fire that alarm system, fire that amygdala, put her into disassociation in 2 seconds. Everybody with me? This is what makes this model curative, because we seek the key and core threats. We seek them out, we understand them, and we don't understand them through the story. The story is only contextual. Regurgitating a story does not undo key and core threats. And she's already been here. She's told 5 therapists before her all of the same stories. So it's why she's warning me and saying, I'm not going back there. I've been back there 1,000 times. It makes no bloody difference. Yes, that is true. It makes no difference back there unless you know what you're looking for. Unless you know the specificity of what you're looking for inside that key and core threat so that you can disarm it, so that you can reconsolidate it. Once you reconsolidate that, this is over. Do you know what the nervous system does? Oh. Do you know what the neuroception does? Nothing. Because it's not unconsciously scanning every day. And you have no idea how many clients have said to me, what do you do now with all this energy that was holding up the entire world? Where am I going now? And therefore the becoming stage starts. What do I do with all of this energy? It's a beautiful conversation to have with a client. What do I do with all of this life force? What do I do with all of this? Yes, Bruce, the story is so external and only relevant for context's sake. The key and core threat, this client every day was getting up and her entire system, her neuroception, her perception, her interoception, her proprioception, all of her senses were scanning for data for any time that she could be near re-experiencing the totality of that key experience. And it had tagged so many things. That's why we play whack-a-mole. We don't understand this. That's why we play whack-a-mole, because it tags tiny things, big things, tags everything. And the client brings to you all the things that the mind has tagged. And then it projects. The mind is brilliant at projecting. So it projects what if, what if, what if, what if, what if, what if, what if. What if is only an extension of the threat and the mind's way of protecting the system against the threat. Don't do the public speaking, don't do the boardroom, don't do, so that I can protect you against the possibility of that happening again. Do you see how they're massive red herrings in the therapeutic process? And they're a product of the key and core threats. Clients are exhausted, running after, playing whack-a-mole in key and core, or outside key and core threats. What do you think happens to this client as that is alleviated in her? What do you think happens as what happened within her and the details and the specificity of that is reconsolidated? And here's, I'll ask you that question, tell me in the chat, right? What do you think happens there? And here's the really important thing. So many therapeutic processes have the reconsolidation part right. And our child work, reframing, but they don't have the specificity right. They don't know where they're going. They don't know what, they've no intentionality. They don't know what they're looking for inside anxiety and panic. They don't, so their intentionality is off. And what happens inside each therapeutic model, they have pieces of it right, but they don't have the system right. And what I'm saying to you is, if you have proper assessment so you know where to start, because for this client, you could not have started here. You could not have started in the past. Is everybody in agreement with that? Absolutely never. She doesn't have the capacity to start in the past. She doesn't trust the past. She doesn't trust you. She doesn't trust the system that she's in. Regulating her by direct and indirect regulation was never going to work because she's done all of that before. So this is a brand new way that's not complicated. Yes, chronic pain, says Sangai. Yes, Sangai saying with this oversensitized nervous system and protective reflexes on overdrive, things like chronic pain set in. Yes, absolutely. Beautiful. And the healing of that, the release of that, the upgrade of that, the reconsolidation of that, all of that energy is released. And then maybe we need to do some fascial work, maybe we need to do some trauma release work. Now we can do the body work that sits alongside this, that can actually release the energy. But we can't expect just to do the body work and not to do the reconsolidation work. And most of you already have within your own arsenal the reconsolidation structures. All that I want to teach you. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, guys. I'm saying that a lot of what you've been taught up until now is helpful. You just need to know where to fit it in so that you have an entire system that you can work on. Does that make sense? And the thing that we really need to be really careful of with our clients, the first thing that we need is an assessment. We have to start where the client needs to start. And for most of them, it's in the body, it's in interoception, it's in symptomatology, it's in all of those things first before they're ready to even answer anything about any key and core threats. Because if a client is not ready to answer anything about key or core threats, they're going to lock you out of the re-experiencing of that. They storytell, they're going to what ifs, they're going to do all of that. So what we have here is we have a client whose energy now is ready for essence work, is ready for becoming work, is ready for future coaching work, for possibility work, for now that's a different part of the process. Does that make sense, Steve? So let me put this together for you. This is a process that helps you assess where a client is showing up. No assumptions, no guesswork. Assesses where that client is, and from that assessment, lists the interventions that you're going to need. Now, I'm going to introduce you to a word, a conscious contract. Anybody that's in our other programs will be rolling their eyes. I'm massive on conscious contracts. Why? Because therapy shouldn't be guesswork. That's why we exhaust people. It shouldn't be guess. We shouldn't have to guess where we are, where we're going, what we're doing. If you come and learn this system, you'll have a client in front of you, you'll have an assessment, and you'll be able to say to the client, here's the amount of work that we have to do. From your assessment, here's the amount of work we have to do. I don't really know timeframes, but if you've got a low stage of process, if you've got that client, how many months do you think it would take to run that client through the entire system that we've done? Low stage of process, low interoception, afraid of her symptomatology, difficult therapeutic interactions, and key and core threats of that magnitude. That took about a year and a half to do. But here's the thing, I got complete buy-in from the client. She knew where she was exactly on the process. She had consciously contracted for each part of the process. She wasn't distrusting of me or the process. She knew where we were. She knew exactly the preparation work that had to be done and in the order that it had to be done in order to get her to where we were going to get her to, in order to reconsolidate that thing so that she could be free from this anxiety. What client doesn't say yes to that and actively engage in the process? And you know what the other thing is? They drive the process. They will drive this process. They are engaged, they are willing, they know where they're going, you know where they're going, and you are not piecemealing 10 million practices together. Now, the only thing that you will do at the end of this is bring your own modalities into it. So your modalities fit in like a plug to the end of this process in the reconsolidation. And that's the system. I promise you I'll give you a system. And that is the system. The system is this. You must assess the 4 capacities. From those 4 capacities, you must decide your first interventions, your first set of interventions. It is normally interceptive work, stages of process work. It is normally body-based work and symptomatology work. They all can be done with this one intervention, which is maps and patterns. You can work for 6 months in maps and patterns and tick off stages of process, tick off interception, and tick off undoing symptomatology. That one intervention alone will do all of those jobs. So you don't need to run and scramble for other things. Then what happens is you will consciously contract to go deeper. Client now has the capacities to go deeper. They didn't have before. Client may take a break between this, but you may still consciously contract for a break for 3 weeks and to come back and to continue the work. Now, what does that do for us? It gives us a framework. It gives us continuity of client work. It gives us an understanding of where we're going, in what order, and it gives us an understanding. I don't know if any of these are holding wait lists. You know where a client is in a process and whether they're coming to the end of that process that you've consciously contracted for, so you can start to work with the prospect of new clients and you're managing your caseloads. Without a system like that, it's nearly impossible to manage caseloads and manage our own workload. So the system is, as I described, this systematic way of assessing and then consciously contracting towards root cause. Now, what sometimes you find is that the assessment and the early stage interventions are an easier process and you might have more time spent in key and core threats. Does that make sense? Because you're going to have, we call it a deepening process and stages of shelves of awareness process, where you're going to be deepening and coming back up and the client's going to titrate and pendulate towards, all for safety reasons. So you find that the time frames are really more weighted in the key and core threats energy. Now that makes sense to everybody. You can prepare a client quicker than you can undo a client. That makes sense? But at least you've got a framework in which you can move through and you know what interventions to put in place. Has anybody any questions about that? Put it in the chat for me. Anybody, any questions whatsoever? Anything missing? Does it make sense? Would you like me to re-clarify? Why do you have me tonight? Now we might as well eke this out. Anything that's missing, anything that doesn't make sense. Does anybody, when we talk about capacity for interception, does everybody know? Bruce, love it. So does your system provide tools for getting at the key? Absolutely. The key mechanism that we provide is the stepping towards key and core threats. So the deepening towards that in a very safe manner. So we provide you with a system, then we workshop that system so that I know that you've got that system in your head, systematically, theoretically, if you like. You look at the theory, you come to a workshop, you workshop the theory, and then you tortuously go on to practice with me, and we do it in practice. So you get the theory, you workshop the detail, and then you put it in practice. Then you go away and practice, and you come back and I supervise you. You bring back a client, and then I supervise you in that practice, Bruce. So I'll meet you at least once after you're out and you're working with a client. You come back and I'll say this or that, but that is after you have done the theory, the workshop of the theory, and then the practice of the theory in your cohort. because it's very important for us that because that's what's missing in the field, you see. The rest of it's not missing. There's all of the inner child work, all of the reconsolidation work, all of the reframing work, that's all sits around this, but it's getting to that I have seen in the system, I have seen in the field where the system's missing. Make sense? So, Singai saying, from what you're saying, body work modalities at the start of this process, indirect regulation, yep, same as unwrapping, yep. So it's a great question. Yeah, and then at the end of it, reconsolidation, absolutely. So where does all of your training come in here, right? Are we throwing the baby out with the bathwater? Hell no, right? Absolutely not, right? All your work that you've ever done with working with the nervous system, regulating the nervous system, tuning to the nervous system, any of your trauma-informed work will sit alongside this. It just doesn't become the majority of what you do to a client. And as you're working, you will know when to bring in this indirect regulation work. But that won't be the foundation of your practice. For a lot of therapists, that's the foundation of the practice. Let's regulate the life out of this and hope that everything disappears. And it can't. Think about what we've done. How can a key and core threat dissipate in regulated nervous system? It can't. Creating capacity in a nervous system doesn't take away key and core threats. It can't. Does it give it capacity for us to work with it a wee bit better? Possibly. But it's a long and arduous process. Do we run regulation alongside maps and patterns work? Absolutely. Does that really double up the depth of work that the client gets? Absolutely. So to your point, Singa, yes, we do we weave indirect regulation alongside this, alongside maps and patterns, direct work, direct regulation, and then we do our deepening work. So we're weaving your practices into this, but giving you a full framework in which to plug in. Yeah, yes, in that case, it becomes maintenance. Absolutely, Singa. Absolutely. In that case, it becomes maintenance rather than healing. Do you see how it becomes maintenance? Do you see how when we're doing these practices for clients? You know, I am a client. A little bit of my background, a little bit of my own background is this, is that the amount of key and core threats that I had were all core in nature, key because I was petrified of anxiety itself or fear because I lived in a lot of fear. So I had a really bad symptomatology problem, but I walked around for most of my adult life petrified of things going really badly wrong that would bring me back to that place. So I catastrophized a lot, had a lot of very difficult thinking, and a regulated nervous system wouldn't have done anything to these key and core threats. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Shelley? That fit? And so what we're saying here is we have to have a way to assess where the client is, how much capacity they have, build a set of interventions around those capacities that eventually lead them to the exploration safely of key and core threats led by the client. Then we reconsolidate key and core threats and we run alongside this all of the indirect regulation tools. Have I explained that all right? Is there anything that I'm missing? I'm asking you, Shelley, particularly. Is there anything that I'm missing in that explanation of that process of that system? Let me know in the chat if there is. Anybody else, any questions? You're all very quiet. Is it landing for you that there is a process and that process is not as complicated as you think it is? And you already have quite a lot of your own skills that you get to bring to this. We just make this clearer and better and give you new skills of assessment, new skills of and direct regulation and deepening skills. Good, Shelley, good. And so that was my promise. My promise to you in our 3 days together is that I would show you how this is done, and I would also show you the outcome for clients. And the outcome is that I've alluded to the outcome. The outcome is becoming work. The outcome is be prepared for an influx, because they will tell everybody and their mother the difference in your approach. And you'll end up with a wait list down the road. And that is just the truth of this, because this is not widespread yet. This way that we train is not widespread yet. And so when our therapists get clients and they work at this level, they then become raving advocates for the model and for your process. And a lot of our clients have actually retrained and come on as therapists. If you look at our internet, if you look at our YouTube channel, you'll see loads and loads and loads of clients talk about this process, or loads of therapists talk about this process. Lovely question. Thank you, Carmen. Is the program suitable for students or only accredited therapists? We get a lot of students that will run our stuff alongside their stuff, alongside the stuff that they're training in. So it is suitable. If you're in an accredited process as a student, Carmen, the only thing congruently I will say to you is that what we will teach you, they will not. And sometimes there's a wee bit of kind of hating what you're learning by them. Yeah. Yes, you would. For those of you that do not have a briefcase, I love that. That's gorgeous, Bruce. A briefcase of trauma tools. We give you the trauma tools too. So they're in there as well. All of the indirect tools are in there as well. We just don't put our focus on them, because then we're like every other trauma-informed group. Sure, you could go to anybody for trauma-informed stuff. We have them in there and they sit alongside, and we teach them every step of the way, but we don't focus on them because we know that it's not what the curative part is, but it's in there too. Is that fair enough? So we don't abandon the stuff that we know is regulatory. We don't abandon the stuff that we know is helpful. We don't abandon the stuff we know that we will need. We keep that inside it as well. We just weave it all together in a very unique system. Okay, so anybody, any questions about the case study? Anything lingering for them that they would like to know? Anything in any of the days that we did that feels like it's an unanswered question or something? I really want to make sure that you walk away from our 3 days together with an understanding of exactly what is done. Anything. So what I'll give you, here's what we'll do. Okay, let's see. I'll give you a little sneak peek. That was the promise of the So here's what we're looking at. It's all your assessment tools, okay? And I had promised that I would give you this assessment process. I don't want to drag you into the details now that we've got you into an overview of a process. But this assessment tool is brilliant because it has, like any good assessment, you know, the highest number that you can get is a 27 TR, and the lowest number is a 6. And that gives you an idea. The minute you do this assessment, you can get an idea from a number where your client is, and you can start to pick off the interventions that it needs. So I'll give you an idea on this side. I don't want to scare you, right? Because the program is really, 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 really set down well inside specific modules. But here, for example, is the first module, right? And the first module is the key threats, core wounded experiences, right? So you can see from here, you have all your video learning material, and then you have all your graphic material. They all can be downloaded. And then what you have then is all your workshop dates and all of your case studies. So everything is taught in a case study, and everything is taught through modules, and everything is taught through workshops. And so you can see all of the different modules on the left-hand side. That's your interception module. We have a full module on interception, full module on Unity. There's all your safety skills, Bruce, that I was telling you about there. They all are there, all your hypoarousal stuff, there's all of your safety and all your Unity skills. There's all your assessment skills. I mean, it's all, I don't want to overwhelm you. And each one has all of these additional research as well. So if you're a research geek, if you're a science geek and you want to fall in love with the science, that's all there too, because I know we like the science of it. So you can see the depth of the training. I'm just going to run through it there so you can see it. You can see the depth of the training. In total, let me see. I'll just show you this. In total, there are 7 modules. First module is understanding the threat system. This is really important. When a client comes to you, they are going to come to you with the threat system enlivened. That means they're going to have all the red herrings, all the what ifs, all the don't do's. They're going to have all the stories, all of the narratives. They're going to have it all. And you have to understand how to see past that so you don't get sucked in there. They're going to want you to play whack-a-mole. You're not going to play whack-a-mole. You're not going to play storytelling. You're going to be led by a process that serves them rather than strangles them. Module 2, psychosomatic disunity, unity, and interception. A full module on how to get into the body, how to work with the body, how to be in the body. Full module on it. Then we have 2 full modules on anxiety patterns and anxiety mapping, which brings all of that module 1, 2, and 3, and 4 together. And by this time you get to module 4, you can do all the maps and pattern work, all the indirect regulation work. You can do all the body work. You can understand when a client comes into you at assessment level, what their key and core threat is, and they can only be sitting in front of you for 5 minutes. Once you understand module 1, you will never, ever, ever, ever hear a client in the same way ever again, because you'll hear key and core threats when a client presents. And you've all your assessment stuff in there. So root cause then is the biggest module, which you would expect. It has it has a workshop, and I think it has 3 practice sessions. There's an additional module that I'm not going to talk to you about because it's intense. It's called the fear of the fear. And then your final module is actually the full module on treatment plans. You need to know how to assess this, how to continually assess this, how to run contracts, how to do conscious contracts. You need to know all of that so that you can set this system up properly. And so we do all of that. Yeah, that's a really interesting question, Bruce. No, we do have the answer to that is no. And I tell you why. Depending on the severity of the spectrum, and just depending on the severity, if it is autism that we're talking about, depending on the severity of that, interoception and autism are more complex and needs additional work. But it would depend on the severity of the spectrum. Often find that people who are on the spectrum. We have one client, or not client, we have one therapist who specializes, who's on the spectrum herself and specializes in spectrum-led work, is doing some of our interception work, and she gives us an awful lot of feedback on it, but we do not specialize in it. It is a specialist, if you like, part that would need to be additional to this, but it is not on here, Bruce. Is that fair enough? Okay, and it would be remiss of me if I said anything other, because it wouldn't fit your needs if your needs is particularly just for for that. Loads of bonus material, access to a load of library of professional money courses, healing core wounds, working with core wounds, analysing core wounds, hierarchy of pain. They are all to help you at the end game. So all of this is to help you at the end game, and then you get your supervision group as well. You get 2 months supervision once you go through it. So everything that you get is lifetime access, the course material, workshop replays, all the bonus programs, additional 2 modules, and you get the 2 supervision as well. As I've just moved you through it there, all your documentation, all your additional printable resources, all your tech and admin, and the opportunity to be a fast growing network of practitioners that are doing this work and doing it differently. So look, if you're ready to stop circling and cycling and piecemealing anxiety and putting it into a proper process, then this is for you. I'll show you the payment plans in a wee minute. I just want to say this. This is really, really important. This girl here called Tammy is a girl that came who's a coach and not a therapist, and didn't want the deepening part of it. Didn't want to go to key or core threats, only wanted it for the direct regulation part of it, for the maps and patterns part of it. Does it make sense? So she knew her boundaries in terms of coaching versus therapy. We know therapists don't like, or coaches don't like going back. That's the line. And you can read it yourself there, I'm not going to read it out to you, but she took this course, and her entire business is based upon maps and patterns. And then what she does is, if anybody wants to go deeper, she hands them over to somebody else because she doesn't feel equipped to do the deepening work as a coach. Billy is one of our therapists, one of our first therapists, one of our highly decorated therapists, and has been doing this work for a long time on our behalf. And she says it very well. It's structured and succinct root cause model. And she basically says that every therapist should be taught. There's a story behind Billy and me. Billy was a therapist and came to me for therapy, must be 10 years ago, and had severe anxiety. And as I was doing this work where she kept saying, "What are you doing? What did you do there now? What was that? What did you make me do there now? How did you do that?" And Billy is the reason that this exists for you lot. Because I was practicing with my knowledge on my own, and Billy was the first person that said to me, "I need to know what you know, because in all of my time in therapy, I have never had this level of depth in my life. And I need you to teach me." And so it was Billy encouraged me to put this into format many, many years ago, and to train her and show her so that she could do what I was doing for her. So this isn't my first rodeo teaching this. This isn't some fly-by-night course that has just popped up because of the trauma-informed information that is out there, and I've jumped on board and thought, okay, let's make a few pounds. I wish, by God, I wish I'd taken some other direction. This is my life's work. And I want to see this by the help of some lovely people around the world. And I wanted to show you those because I thought that they were very important for you to know. So I'm sure after all of that, you want to know how the bloody much is it, and how to just get to the point now. So the investment is this, as you can see, for anybody that has been here in the workshop, it's £795. In dollars, Leona, what are we in dollars?
Just scroll on down there.
Oh, there we see. Oh, the voice speaks in the background. There's the dollar investment, $1,000. The price does not reflect the depth of practice on it. Let me just say that, because I know there's, and as I was told today, will not point any fingers to anybody that might be here. As I was told today, the prices are way too cheap. I get that. That's okay. And the price of it does not reflect the depth the depth of the information in it. And it's my way of trying to get as many people on board this as quickly as possible and to put this out into the world. And that's the truth. That is genuinely the truth. So it's a 40% discount for anybody that's here. It's $7.95, one off. It's 4Pay. You can do 4Pay if you want. That's no problem at all. We have put that in place for anybody where that is a stretch. There it is in dollars. You still get the 4Pay in dollars as well. And there it is in euros if you want to do it in euros. So there's loads of options. I think only Leona at the bottom of this would have exchange rate correct as Tuesday the 11th of November. I wouldn't have anything like that, Singai. As you well know, Singai, isn't that right? That is not my work. You know that, don't you? You've worked with me long enough now to know that is not my work. Thank you, Leona, for being diligent as ever. Okay, so now I suppose on the how does this work? You can start tonight if you want. All of the modules have these pre-recorded lessons. So you start immediately, but the workshops are live and interactive, as is the practice sessions. So the live workshops, there you are. Thank you, Leona. Where's the other workshop dates? Do we get, is the first one Monday the 1st of December, Leona?
For Module 1, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, okay, thank you. So the first workshop is Monday the 1st of December. You will get through 2 workshops. You'll get through 2 modules between now and December if you start now. If you choose to wait, enroll in the program for the discount, and choose not to go to the workshops until January, that's fine too. There will be more workshops added in January, so you can pick and choose where you want to go. If you want to follow the sequence, you can get through the first 2 modules between now and the end of December. So you can start now, start to consume the material, come to your live workshops, come to your live practice, and all of the details of the workshop are inside your academy. But the live workshop, guys, are on Monday nights. And we've tried to keep it as lit as possible because we know that we have a lot of people across in the beautiful world of the USA and in Australia, and that we're trying to make time for in my evening, which will be your daytimes. So the workshops are Monday nights. They will never change from a Monday night, but they will change in terms of, there's probably about 2 weeks between each workshop, Leona?
Yeah.
To give you consume the material.
Yeah, you scroll on the date for Module 2 is just below there as well.
Oh, somebody's in charge. So we've got the second workshop's Monday the 15th, and that's Module 2 workshop. And then we have all of the other workshop dates for January, February, and March. So in terms of the total of this, is there anything I've missed, Leona?
No, I think that's everything. Those are just the workshops there that that are gone.
All right. Okay, so
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll stop the share. So in terms of, if you've loved what I've taught and you think you want to learn that system so that you're not piecemealing anymore, so you have a process, and that really speaks to you, then what I will say to you is what you'll walk away from with this is a system, a plan, a set of interventions, deeper understanding of trauma, and more tools that help support you in a beautiful learning environment, if you could bear me teaching you again. But more than that, satisfaction in your own self, that you are not spiraling and circling and thinking, where do you go and what do you do? And you're not exhausted, and you have clarity of purpose and clarity of plan, and that you know exactly when a client comes to you, what they need and in what order they need it and how to put them through it. And that, if you're interested in that, then I would love to have these, genuinely love to have these, and love you to be part of this cohort. The training lasts for about what, Leona? How many weeks in total?
Well, we have the new dates coming on in January now, so in total you're probably talking about maybe 5 months. Would that be right in saying that's if that's coming along to every workshop, every practice session, we try not to leave anything out, no stone unturned for yous before you're finished with a course and going off to practice. Shauna, always make sure just that you've got everything, the learning cemented in every way. So
About 5 months it'll take you if you follow the sequence. But say, for example, Bruce, something happens, right? Say life happens, right? And you think, I'm not going to get to that workshop the night, or I need to pause this course at this point, then you come back to it in the next cycle. It's not a problem. Nothing's lost. The way that it's structured and the way that it's taught means that you can either follow it in one file swoop and through it in 5 months, or you can pause it and come back to it when the next workshop comes around.
yeah. And also there's because this program is running already, there's workshops there that are already recorded, that you guys can come along, or you guys can watch. They are replays of previous workshops, but if you wanted to just fly through the material, that's not a problem. You can go and watch a already pre-recorded workshop as well, and you've got lifetime access to everything.
And yes, there is a test, Bruce. I wasn't nearly not going to read that out. Yes, there is. Absolutely, there is. There's a good assessment at the end of it. We're not putting you out onto the field without a good assessment. But it's not scary. It's all right. It's case study driven. And it's answering questions on a case study. And you'll follow that case study the whole way through the modules. So it's not a surprise. And that's why what I try to do in these 3 days is I try to teach it the way that you will see it. Only it's much more interactive. You're all sitting very quiet and being respectful of everybody else. That's not that way that this would work in real time. We'd be in a group and we'd be delivering material and workshopping material and answering questions live and all of that. But I've tried to do this, replicate this as much as possible by giving you, the theory, by giving you the demos, and by giving you the practice of it, like with a case study the whole way through, so that you get as much as you can. One thing that I do want to say to you, which is different for this than any other model that's out there, we have, and I said this to you during the week, we have the most amazing human being that you will ever meet that has given up her private practice for use. She has allowed me to record her. She has an anxiety problem. She has been 15 years cycling, circling, trying to make sense, trying to get round it. And she is 15 years in practice, trying to get at it. She's a therapist herself. And she has allowed me to record her, and it is woven into your learning. So not only do you have a case study, but you have live demos of me and her working. And there's some of our therapists that have fed back and said, that is like better than Netflix. When's the next episode? Take me to the next, because it is compelling watching. You're watching somebody live. So you've done the theory, right? You've done the theory, you've done your workshop, you've done the theory, you've done your practice. You've done the theory, you've done all your sheets, you've done all the case studies. Then you watch her in practice, you see it live, and then you come to your workshops. And sometimes the workshops are all about the demo because it has become alive in the demo. Like, when do you ever get to do like that real beautiful demo work that's real root cause stuff? And this case is incredible. So that's what I meant to show that to you. That's woven into your program as well. So we do case studies, we do demos, live demos. We do some experiential stuff as well. We poke around in your own experiential stuff. And we do all of the theory, and we do all of the practice, and we try to integrate all of that through case study and assessment, which is what your question was. And there is a certification, you get a wee certification from us at the end, absolutely, as long as you've been through the whole thing. How does that feel to you? Does that feel like I've done enough? Do you feel like, I think my intentionality was to show you a different way to treat anxiety, to give you hope and possibility that there was, to invite you in to a program that I am so proud of, and to support you in a more structured way that makes you more confident of your work and the work that you'll do with your clients. Can the actual work with clients be done online? Yes, all of our works. What you will see, Bruce, see in the work that I've done with a client and the demo, it's all online. There's nothing one to one. I don't practice one to one, this one to one at all. I do everything online, and so all of my work's recorded online, so no problem. So that was my intentionality, to inspire you more than anything, and to inspire you to know that healing anxiety is absolutely possible, and it doesn't have to become as complex as we think it is, that there is a process, there is a system, and that system is easier to learn and train than you think. And you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You bring along your own stuff and we integrate it beautifully. And you can pick off parts of this model, choose to do the deeper work if you want, choose to do the earlier work if you want, choose to do the interceptive work if you want, but you get to choose in line with what the client needs where you go. And so therefore you have a system. And that system has helped thousands and thousands of people at this stage. And I'm very, 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 very proud of that system. And I hope to see you all on the inside. If anybody has any questions whatsoever, please put them in the chat. Good. Very reasonable. Yes, you can start in January. You can absolutely start in January. The only problem with starting in January is that the discount is available for many days, Leona.
48 hours.
So anybody that wants to jump on that is here, you have 48 hours to enact the discount. If you wanted to wait the January, that is no problem, but the discount won't be active by January. If you want to start now and get the discount and not start to January, you can do that as well. That's no problem. Okay. All right, Sharon, thank you so much. This is available on a replay. If anybody wants to go back over any of the material, feel free to do so. Anybody wants to reach out and ask us any questions, Leona is only an email away. As I'm sure you've all seen by now, she is incredibly punctual at reaching out. If you reach out to her, she will get back to you quite quickly. So if anybody has any questions that you don't want to ask here, then please, please, please feel free. Please feel free to ask us questions via email. We're only more than happy to answer those questions. And if there's anything else that we can do or be of service with any of this material, then please reach out to us. Hopefully those 3 days, no problem at all. Hopefully those 3 days have given you a good introduction and given you hope and possibility for what's possible going ahead. Is that all right? Are we complete? Good, good, Zoe. Good, good, good. Thank you. Yes, Liz, Leona is super. Yes, thank you, Jill. That's gorgeous. Thank you for the heart. Much love. Good evening. And I hope to see most of you. Yeah, looking forward to working with you too, Gigi. I really genuinely am. I can't wait to see you all inside the program. See you all soon and reach out if you have any questions. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks. Bye-bye, Shelley. Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.